Keir Starmer was pretty quick out of the blocks yesterday on the TV stations and social media, saying the Prime Minister must come clean. It's going to be a crucial moment for Boris Johnson at PMQs. It's also going to be a real test and a crucial moment for Keir Starmer too.
Yeah, I think it'll be excruciating for Boris Johnson. I expect him to stick, to this very awkward line of saying, well, all the rules were followed, but not really explaining how or when or by whom. But I think you're right in your intro. Of course, the mood in the Labour Party is important, but the mood in the public, among the public, is far more important. And for me, this is a Barnard Castle moment. This has a cut through already. It's on Facebook. People who don't follow politics particularly are talking about it. It's on the front page of newspapers, it's in the pubs. For all the same reasons as we're already familiar with, that the British people made so many sacrifices throughout all the lockdowns, and there appears to be people right at the top of the country wielding huge power, ignoring the rules, and in effect sticking two fingers up at the rest of us.
In saying that, we know that Boris Johnson has been accused of a lot of things in the past. The public, in some ways, are either sympathetic to him, understanding. Some feel that actually many of these potential mistakes are built into to his reputation as a politician. That, frankly, some people quite like him because he's not, the kind of typical politician you see time and time again. And in many ways, some of his critics fear that simply these stories don't stick when it comes to Boris Johnson.
Well, there is a Teflon element to him, but not in a good way. And we have to remember we're talking about different things. So for 10, 20 years, Boris Johnson has been in the public eye. He's one of the people that is often called a liar, which is a word that journalists would not normally use about anyone for fear of libeling them. But we know Boris Johnson was sacked from the Times, and he was sacked from the front bench by Michael Howard about 15 years ago. But these are, if you like, very serious matters, but they're about his personal integrity. Now, in lockdown and the alleged party, we're in different territory. And if you're a voter, perhaps outside London, and you lost a loved one to coronavirus and you weren't able to hold their hand or say goodbye properly, we know that applies to thousands of people, sadly, then I think this is really going to sting far more than just an apparently private matter about Boris Johnson's personal life, for example.
Just very finally, Peter, you're a seasoned political commentator. You've seen many of these things before. Lots of suggestions this morning that this is a moment for Boris Johnson, a very precarious one in terms of his premiership. Some suggesting it may well precede the end of it. I think Dominic Cummings has just tweeted #regime change. Are we at that point, really?
Well, it's certainly a moment, and just to explain briefly what we all mean by that, I mean, it's one of those things that everyone remembers, whether it's John Prescott punching an elector on the first day of election campaign, which was a mistake and he apologised for, or something much more serious like a breach of lockdown rules. But it's one of those things that will stay in the public mind for years, if not decades afterwards. And it stings so much because of their hypocrisy and because of suffering people around the country. In terms of Boris Johnson, he's raced through all these phases since December 2019 when he won the election here. There was hardly any honeymoon period, but there was one. Then there was the onset of a national crisis, support for the government, then support ebbed away, and then a lot of concern over competence. And now finally, what seems like the death throes of a regime with apparent corruption and being out of touch. You remember the fiasco over Owen Paterson. But no one should think Boris Johnson's going to go this week or this month. But I think his leadership is now in terminal decline.